Hi everyone, it's Monica, and welcome back to Tailor-Made Cards for You. Well, I'm excited to share with you one of my latest digital kits, and this kit is called Down on the Farm. Like all of my other kits, this kit is vintage inspired, and it has some wonderful paper, journal pages, ephemera sheets, and lots more. Now, I know all of us aren't journal creators, but I wanted to be able to create a kit that would work not only for people that love to make junk journals, but also for card crafters as well. So you could easily use some of the journal pages as background for your cards, or if you are a journal maker, they're going to make wonderful pages for your inserts. Now, a lot of my journals are typically the 7.5 inches by 5 inches, but I wanted to create a kit that would enable you to create some smaller journals. So you're going to be able to get pages not only for the 7.5 by 5, but also pages that will enable you to create a journal that is 6 inches by 4 inches. The pages are great as covers, but you can also use them as pages for your journals. This particular one is the 7.5 inches by 5, and I used the almanac page as a cover, and then I just put blank vintage paper inside so I can use it as a little note journal. But what I wanted to create for you today is this smaller journal, and this is the journal that measures 6 inches by 4 inches. And I've sized the pages exactly the same, so you'll easily be able to just cut them out, and they should all work together as a book to put together as a signature. Now on the page, as you can see, you're going to also get ephemera pieces, and these pieces can range from labels to little note pieces of paper. There's all sorts of things that will enable you to decorate your journal. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing that I did was cut out all of my pages, and then I also cut out some of my ephemera pieces. Now, as you're going to see, some of the ephemera pieces have the straight lines where you can just easily cut them with your trimmer, but some of the other pieces may require you to do some fussy cutting. Now, as you can see, the sizes do vary, and the larger one, like I said, is 7.5 by 5 inches, and then the smaller journal is 6 by 4. So what I did is I went ahead and I just cut out all of my pages, and then I also cut out some blank white pages to put in between some of the pages. Now, one thing I did when I created this kit is you're going to see the edges do look kind of jaggedy, but when you're cutting them with your straight blade, you're not going to get that effect. And there's a couple of ways that you can fix that. You can easily tear them like I was just doing there, or you can take your scissors and kind of go along the design to be able to cut it to look a little bit old. Either way works great, and then all you need to do is add some of your distress inks along the edges to get rid of some of that white. And then once you have your pages exactly the way that you want them, then you can go ahead and bind them. Now, typically when I'm going to do some sort of sewing binding, I'll get my my clips to be able to hold the pages together. And this just enables me to make sure that my pages won't move, and that I'll have them lined up exactly the way that I want them. These binder clips are great, and you can get them at any office supply store. And then once you have the paper exactly like you want it, just go ahead and take your binding clips, line up your paper, and then take your awl so you can go ahead and punch your holes in. Now, you could definitely take a ruler and try to measure your holes exactly center, but I just like to eyeball it. I just kind of figure out exactly where my centerpiece is. And then I take usually about 3/4 of an inch from the top. Now, if my journal was a little bit bigger, I might go an inch from the top and an inch from the bottom. But just use what works for you. There really is no rhyme or reason. There's no formula necessarily. It's just what works for you. And then I'm going to go ahead and take one of my sewing needles, and I'm going to take some of my thread. I'm going to go ahead and bind my book. Now, there's a lot of thread out there that you can use. A lot of people like to use the embroidery thread, which is fine, but I am using some actual binding thread, and the difference is that this thread is waxed. And what I like about the wax thread is when you are binding your book or sewing your pages, the wax makes it go through a lot easier. So you're not going to necessarily tear your pages. It just makes it a lot easier to sew through, especially if you have a lot of pages. Now this book here had, I think, probably about 20 pages. I'm not really sure because I ended up using the papers from the kit, and then I actually added some white pages as well. And you're just going to want to make sure that when you do sew it, the thicker the signature, the more difficult it might be to sew. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's a lot of kits out there that you could get really inexpensive. When I started doing book binding, I found a really great kit that had the needles, the awl, the thread, and it even came with a bone folder as well. So there's a lot of great kits out there, and I'll definitely link up the one that I use because it's a great starter kit. And as you can see, the stitching that I'm doing here is very simple. You're just starting off in the middle and then going to the top, back through the middle, and then to the bottom, and then you're going to end up at the bottom with a piece of thread that you're going to end up tying to the middle piece. And what I like about this type of a bind is you don't necessarily have to measure out your thread before you start. A lot of times I would pre-cut my thread, and I would end up wasting a lot of it because I would overestimate the amount that I needed. And by doing it this way, I can easily leave the actual roll on the edge and then trim it once I get to the middle. And then I'm just going to knot it right in the middle, double knot, and then I'll trim off the excess. Now once you finish binding your signature, there's a lot of ways you can go with it. You could easily leave it as it is and use it as a little junk journal or a notebook. It's small enough where it could fit inside a purse or even inside a folder to carry around with you. But you can also add it to a bigger journal. So if you chose to perhaps create a hardcover, you can use this as a signature to be bound inside a larger book. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of the pieces of the ephemera that are on this kit just to decorate it a little bit more. And before I did that, I wanted to go ahead and edge up the edge of the journal using some of my Distress Oxide. When you are cutting your paper, some of that white does show through, so it's always nice to go ahead and just add some of the Distress inks to the edge of the paper so that way it does continue to look like an old kind of grungy book. And remember, if you didn't actually print both sides of the paper, you can easily take some of your Distress inks or your Distress Oxides and add some of that grunginess to your paper. There's nothing to say that you have to keep it exactly white. Feel free to add some ink, maybe even some stamping. Make it your own. This is your book, and be creative. All right, so once I have some of my edging done, I'm going to go ahead and take, like I said, some of those ephemera pieces, and I'm going to add them to the white pages. Some of the ephemera pieces were easy to cut, like I had indicated, because they have the straight lines. But some of the pieces you may have to fussy cut, just depending on the edging. And there's lots of ways you can actually adhere these. I'm going to go ahead and use some of my 3-in-1 beacon, but some other ways to adhere this are with some of your collage mediums. You can easily use some of the collage medium that Tim Holtz has. He has some of that vintage collage medium as well as the matte collage medium, and that would work well to add some of your ephemera pieces. Mod Podge is another thing that you can use to adhere some of your ephemera pieces. And then if you don't have any of those products, you can certainly use tape runners or even just glue sticks. Now, if you didn't actually want to glue down some of your pieces, you can create little pockets also, or little tucks inside of your journal, and you can easily add these pieces as pullouts or little inserts as well. So as I finish up here, I want to go ahead and let you know that I am going to be giving away one of the bundle kits to one lucky commenter. So if you are interested in winning the bundle, go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the kit. And then in about 7 days, I'll come back and I'll draw and I'll give one person the kit. Now, you're going to have two choices on this kit if you decide to purchase it in the shop. You have the bundle, and then you also just have the kit. The bundle is going to be a little bit more bang for your buck because it not only includes the journal pages, but all of the pieces that are also in the kit. So if you do decide to go with the journal option, which is the bundle, you don't necessarily have to also purchase the kit because you're going to get that ephemera and those pieces of paper within the bundle. So as always, I'll leave a list of all the products that I've used along with the links to the store. If you've enjoyed the videos, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because in order to win the drawing, you do have to be a subscriber to my channel. Now remember, you are going to have some more videos linked below, and these are from the inspiration team also using these kits to give you some more ideas for your projects. And then in a couple of days, I'll be back to use the kit portion of the bundle, and we'll create some really fun farmers market, down on the farm types of cards. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you in a few days.